Right, so this video is intended as basically a crash course for full self-driving. Everything you're gonna need to know to get started, but also some more advanced tips and tricks to get the most out of it, and to basically just make you feel comfortable with the system, knowing its limits, what it can and can't do, and how you can get the most out of it. So, first off, obviously the first thing is starting FSD. So, multiple ways to do this. So the first one is using FSD from Park via the button. So this button will only appear if you have a destination set and if you have Start FSD from Park enabled. Now that's not enabled by default. So if you go to the Autopilot menu under Settings and then go to Start Full Self-Driving from Park, you'll then have access to this button. So basically the order of operations is that you get in the car, you put in destination, and then this button will appear to give you the option of starting FSD from Park. The other option is to use the right scroll wheel. Now again, this can only be started from Park if you have that option enabled and you have a destination. So basically, if you can see this button, when you're in Park, you can also press this button. But you can also press this button whilst you're already driving. So let's say you're driving down the road. If you press the right scroll wheel, it will start FSD. Now it's important to note, as a side thing, that FSD is always sort of processing what's happening around it. The reason for this is the way FSD, well, the way Tesla captures data from the fleet is that it's constantly comparing how someone who is driving manually navigates through the world as opposed to how FSD would. So in every single moment, basically FSD is providing the system information on what it would be doing right in this moment, and then you're obviously giving it input based on what you're doing with the pedals and the accelerator, braking and the steering, and then they compare those two things and sort of they judge FSD based on that, I guess. That's how they improve the system over time. So what that means effectively though is that because it's doing that, it's always running in what's called shadow mode. You can always activate FSD at almost any moment. Sometimes if you're going through if you're actively turning through an intersection or something like that, FSD won't let you engage it, but that's sort of a rare occasion. But yeah, so if you are driving, you can press the right scroll wheel and activate FSD. Now to disengage FSD, pretty simple as well. You can again press the right scroll wheel, or you can tap the brake pedal, just a light tap, any input will disengage, or you can actually apply torque to the steering wheel. If you used Autopilot before, or TACC, or what's it called, traffic aware cruise control, you'll know that you know how much force you need to put in the wheel to sort of disengage that system. It's the same thing for FSD if you're used to that. Now note that if you do disengage, it's handing full control back to you. That includes steering, braking, accelerating, everything. So just be ready. If you are disengaging at like highway speeds, best thing to do is sort of get your foot on the pedal and sort of already be pressing it as you disengage, so it sort of smoothly transitions between self-driving and you driving. It's really worth noting if you're new to the system, if you disengage, just be ready to take over, because you may disengage accidentally. You may bump the wheel, you may accidentally press the brake pedal, you may accidentally press the scroll wheel. So just be aware that if it does disengage, you will get a sound. You have to be ready to take over and fully control the car. So the next thing, I suppose some more advanced tips here. See, I've been practicing this. So is the acceleration as the first item. So let's just say FSD is stalling. It's going 50 in a 60 zone. Most of the time you can just give it a slight tap of the accelerator. And what that does is it wakes up FSD. It sort of stops daydreaming and starts to get to the speed limit. Often it stays that way and it sticks to the limit. Sometimes it starts dropping down again. This is a known issue with FSD currently. Sometimes you notice that giving that slight tap isn't enough. Sometimes you have to do it a second time. Sometimes you'll press the accelerator and it won't do anything. And that's because FSD is going at speed for a very deliberate reason. there's two reasons why FSD slows down. One is because there's no real reason that we know of why. It sort of bleeds speed. You'll notice it'll lose 1 kilometer per hour every couple of seconds, almost like a stage dream. The other reason is because it's being very cautious. Like if it's going for a suburban street, it will go 10, maybe even 20 below the limit. Now, if you try and press the accelerator in that kind of circumstance, and as soon as you let go, it will slow right back down. If you keep pressing the accelerator while FSD is active, if you hold it down, it will start warning you with a red sort of hue. If you keep doing that, it will actually disengage, and it will give you, I don't think it gives you a strike, but it does disengage. It doesn't like it very much. So it's best to avoid that if possible. Another thing you can do is if you're, let's say you're 500 meters out from a turn, FSD isn't being proactive, it's not getting into the turn lane as early as you would like. What you can do is you can indicate right or left to change lanes to prompt FSD to make the lane change. And it will, in most cases, do that. Not always. Now, it will only do this if it can do it safely. It's not going to cut off a car the moment you press the indicator. It will move over whenever it feels safe to do so. Now, if you tap the accelerator, tap the indicator, and it doesn't get over, for whatever reason, like if it puts the blinker on, then cancels it, or just outright doesn't let you do it, you can hold the indicator down, and that's a more forceful nudge to FSD to say, I really do want to get over. And most of the time it will do it. Again, it will only do it when the opportunity arises, but it's more forceful. Not always, though. Sometimes just, like, let's just say you're mid-intersection or you're about to cross into an intersection, even holding it down won't force it to do it because it sees it as a very illegal maneuver. So that's that. The next thing you can do is if, let's just say, you're traveling on a road which had recent roadworks, so the mapping speed tells FSD that it's 40, but in actual fact, the roadworks have been done for a year and the speed is now back to 60. It may pick that 40 speed. It may override what it sees in the signs. Now, if that's the case, you're not going to be stuck going 40 in a 60 zone with FSD. Actual fact, what you can do is if you scroll the right wheel on the steering wheel, up or down, it will change the current speed that FSD can go. So basically, if you think about it, there's two different max speeds. There's the FSD max speed, and then there is the detected speed limit. So the detected speed limit is shown as a horrible square, but is shown on the top right-hand corner of your screen at all times. The max speed, if you scroll the wheel up and down, will sort of appear briefly on the top in blue text. So think of it like that. Think of it as the max speed that you set is what it's a speed limit that you're telling FSD can go at. And this is overridden the next time FSD sees a sign. So let's just say you're going down that road, FSD picks up a max speed or speed limit of, detected speed limit of 40, you set a max speed of 60, so the car speeds up. If the next sign it sees says 70, it will reset to 70. So that max speed change only applies until the next time the car detects a speed limit. Worth keeping in mind. The next thing is the max speed offset. So this is a percentage value from 0 to 50. Now, what this allows FSD to do is, in circumstances that it deems appropriate, this isn't really clear in any documentation, but let's just say you're traveling down a road and traffic is going a lot faster than the speed limit. If your max speed limit is above the speed limit, let's just say it's 50% or whatever, FSD will speed up, will go the speed to keep flow of traffic. So setting the offset above the speed limit basically allows the car to go what it deems an appropriate speed to fit in with the traffic around it. But obviously gives you the chance of getting a speeding fine, so just use this very carefully. It's also worth noting that this starts at 40% by default. So when you engage FSD, make sure, if you don't want this to be a thing, you go into autopilot settings, then you go to max speed offset as a percentage and set it to 0. It's when you go to autopilot settings, it's the top sort of option. There's a second option, which is related to speed limit warnings. It doesn't actually control the speed, but yeah, this is can be handy if the only times I use it is when I know there is an incorrect map speed coming up, like there's a section on a merge lane heading onto the gateway in Brisbane, where it will detect a 30 km/h max speed on a highway on-ramp, which is actually 100. Now, in that case, if I'm traveling through there, I'll preset it to about 40% offset, so that what that does is the car doesn't immediately start slowing down to 30 from 100 in the middle of a freaking highway on-ramp. It will it'll see it and be like, no, okay, I'm going to keep going because traffic around me is traveling at a faster speed. It allows you to smooth out those erroneous speed detections that it gets. But again, it's, you're going to get speeding fines if you keep it on. So I almost all the time leave it at 0%. And that just means that if it's at 0%, it will go the detected speed limit and no more. Last tip is basically keep the cameras clean. It doesn't have to be squeaky clean, but it will build up over time. You can't forget. Let's just say you don't clean the car for a couple of months. It will start giving you warnings. If it's really bad, say you're driving home and the sun's like in the eyes of FSD, so to speak, on your screen at the bottom will give you a little warning that will show, camera impairment detected. And it will show the camera view that at the time that it captured it. Normally it's just like a really hazy view of the sun. That just means that your front camera is, in most cases, dirty and needs to be cleaned. But it does affect, it's something to keep in mind if you're using FSD, that you have to sort of keep those cameras clean because it is FSD's eyes, in effect. All right, so I just want to give a high-level overview of FSD's visualization, basically, and dive into some further details for those who are curious. So obviously most of the time you're going to be looking out through the windows, the windscreen, the world around you, but for those who are curious and want to know exactly what this thing is showing on the screen, here's some further details. So to start out with, we've got obviously the overview of the road conditions around you, lanes with the vehicles in them. Your vehicle is obviously always highlighted as it appears as a Tesla Model 3 or Model Y, or whatever it is. The rest of the vehicles are just sort of wireframe, sort of colorless objects. Occasionally, you'll notice that the other vehicles on the road may glow red. Now, if you're indicating and the car to your right is too close, or it detects that you would sort of come into conflict with that vehicle, it will highlight it in red. That's more specific to manual driving, but for FSD, it's worth noting that sometimes vehicles will be noted highlighted as blue or highlighted as sort of darker gray. What that means is that FSD is actually looking at this vehicle as an object of attention. So this is often the case when you're traveling down a road and it's there'll be a side road coming in. If a car comes up to that side road at speed, FSD will show that vehicle either as blue or as dark gray whilst it's sort of paying attention to it. And if it thinks it's going to go in manual driving, it will highlight red and flash a sound. In FSD, it will obviously just react itself. So that's another thing worth noting. Again, probably not going to be noticed by anyone, but just details that are sort of worth adding if we're going to be comprehensive. So if we get underway with the video here, keep an eye on the section in front of the car. This is where the plan line will appear. And the plan line at a high level basically shows the current speed of FSD in relation to the other vehicles in the road. As I'll note later on, this can and cannot be, it can show whether your car is in sync with other cars on the road. So at the moment, FSD is matching the speed of the car in front just fine, as you can see. As we come up to this slip lane here, FSD will start braking, and you'll notice that there's backwards moving chevrons. That's basically just showing that FSD is braking. It's pretty straightforward stuff. Another thing worth noting is if you keep an eye on the plan line ahead of the car as we move away from this slip lane here, you'll notice that it sort of extends and retracts and extends and retracts. That's just showing FSD's uncertainty on whether it's going to go or not. And you can see here eventually it decides to go, and that shows as much on the visualization. So it isn't just a pretty line showing the car's driving itself, it is actually showing what the car is actually thinking. So it's Interesting. This one here, this video here is showing something a bit different. So same situation, but as you'll notice, the plan line in front is sort of semi-opaque. The reason for that is that there's two different states that this line will show: solid blue or semi-opaque. When it's semi-opaque, that's showing that FSD is planning to do something. And when it goes solid blue, that means it's actually committing to that action. So you'll notice this sometimes when it's trying to pull out, it might sort of go, and then like, especially at a roundabout, if it detects a car coming in last minute that it's going to come into conflict with, it will shift from that sort of planned state to either fully retracting or committing to it. So just another detail. But as you can see here, the line actually does, as I said before, extend beyond the position of the car in front. And it's basically just showing that FSD's current speed is slightly faster than the car in front. And yeah, that's basically it. As you can see, cars in front, depending on whether they're blocked visibility-wise, will show on the visualization or not. And that's pretty well real-time. It is worth noting, though, that isn't... This whole visualization in general, everything it shows, is only approximate. It's not what FSD is actually taking into account itself. It takes into account a lot more. This is here just as a sort of a confidence thing for people who are using FSD to show that it is, in general, perceiving most things. They didn't give it the full level of detail, I guess, for performance reasons, but yeah, having used FSD extensively, I can tell you it definitely sees a lot more. It sees a lot further than what this line shows, and it sees a lot more than it lets on in terms of the objects around it. Everything from vehicles to objects on the road, all that kind of stuff. Like if there was a bucket on the road in front of us right now, it wouldn't really show it on the visualization, but it would definitely react to it. So yeah, again, just giving a high level overview of how the visualization works for FSD.